Dan Kato. In a world where every jutsu is either a weapon or a legacy, few techniques evoke the eerie silence of death like Dan Kato's spirit transformation technique, a forbidden jutsu that quite literally turns the user into a ghost. At first glance, Dan Kado might seem like a background character, overshadowed by the more explosive personalities of the Naruto universe, but beneath that calm demeanor lies a terrifying skill. The ability to separate his soul from his body and move freely through the battlefield. Untouchable, invisible, and almost undetectable, Dan becomes the ultimate scout, or assassin. Originally designed for infiltration, the spirit transformation technique allows Dan's soul to bypass enemy lines, gather intelligence, or even strike without ever being seen. But its true lethality lies in its offensive potential. Once in spirit form, Dan can possess enemy bodies or target internal organs, effectively disabling or even killing a target from within. It's a form of spiritual assassination that blurs the line between technique and curse. However, the risk is immense. If his soul is damaged during the separation, Dan dies instantly. This isn't just high risk. It's the definition of putting one's life on the line, which is why it speaks volumes about Dan's conviction and the reason this jutsu remains so rare and feared. His most memorable moment comes during the Fourth Great Ninja War, when Dan is reanimated through Edo Tensei. In a fleeting moment of clarity, he uses the spirit transformation to save Tsunade from death, fulfilling a promise he couldn't keep in life. If you're a true Naruto fan, this one's for you. Drop your favorite signature jutsu in the comments and tell us why it deserves the crown. And don't keep the hype to yourself. Share this video with your fellow shinobi and join the debate. Interesting, right? Here, we don't just watch anime. We live every character, every story, every emotion. Don't miss out on exclusive content and fresh takes you won't find anywhere else. Hit that subscribe button now and become part of the most passionate and creative anime community out there. Thanks for the support. This journey wouldn't be the same without you. Next, Sight. Among the vibrant chaos of explosive jutsu and eye-popping Kekkei Genkai, Sight's power stands out not because of destruction, but because of creation. His super beast imitating drawing is less of a weapon and more of an art form that breathes life into imagination. Literally. Trained by root, Sight was raised to be emotionless, a blank canvas. Ironically, his most powerful jutsu relies on pure expression. Using specialized ink and a chakra-infused brush, Sight creates animals and objects that leap off the page and into the battlefield. Birds for recon, tigers for offense, snakes for restraining. It's as if the battlefield itself becomes his sketchbook. In his clash against Sasori and Deidara, Sight uses his ink creatures not only to misdirect, but also to create an opening for Naruto and Sakura, highlighting the tactical flexibility of this jutsu. Unlike traditional summoning, Sight's drawings are fast, disposable, and tailor-made for the moment. They scale with his creativity and control, making him a one-man squadron. But what really sets this technique apart is how it reflects Sight's growth. Once a tool of root, this jutsu transforms from cold functionality to emotional expression. As Sight begins to bond with Team 7, his drawings become more dynamic. His ink mirrors his heart. Strategically, it's a near-perfect support technique. Instant creation, remote control, stealth potential, and versatility in combat and recon alike. But it's also poetic. In a world where ninjas destroy, Sight creates. In a world of screaming jutsu, his silence speaks volumes. Kushina Uzumaki. The Uzumaki clan has always been feared for one thing, their sealing prowess. But among them, Kushina's chakra chains represent a rare and terrifying fusion of raw chakra control and maternal ferocity. These aren't ordinary chakra constructs. When Kushina manifests her chains, they erupt from her body like spectral serpents, capable of restraining even tailed beasts. During the Nine Tails attack, she immobilized Kurama, a feat that even most Kage couldn't achieve. That moment alone secures her place among the most dangerous kunoichi in history. But this technique is more than brute strength. The chains are powered by emotion and Kushina's iron will. They can bind targets, form barriers, and assist in complex sealing rituals. Minato relied on these chains in the sealing of the Nine Tails into Naruto, a legendary act of teamwork, sacrifice, and love. The image of Kushina's chains holding down Kurama as she comforts her newborn son? It's not unforgettable. It's Naruto's origin story. From a strategic standpoint, chakra chains offer crowd control, chakra suppression, and sealing all in one. They scale with the user's willpower and chakra reserves, and in Kushina's case, both were off the charts. She wasn't a frontline fighter like Tsunade, but her presence could completely alter a battlefield. Yet, what elevates this technique beyond the battlefield is its symbolism. The chains represent protection, restraint not out of fear, but out of love. In a world of chaos, Kushina's chains were a mother's final embrace. Shisui Uchiah. If genjutsu is an art, then Koto Matsukami is its forbidden masterpiece. Developed by Shisui Uchiah, this Mangekyou Sharingan ability doesn't trap you in an illusion. It rewrites your will without you ever realizing it. Shisui was known as Shunshin no Shisui, the body flicker master. But speed was just the surface. His true terror lay in his eyes. Koto Matsukami allows the user to subtly manipulate someone's thoughts, making them believe the implanted idea was their own. No pain, no resistance. It's total control disguised as free will. Shisui intended to use this on the Uchiha clan to peacefully prevent their rebellion, essentially saving Konoha from a civil war. That plan, however, never saw the light of day. Before he could act, his eye was taken by Danzo, and the other destroyed by his own hand. A sacrifice to prevent misuse. Strategically, it's the most ethereal and overpowered genjutsu in Naruto, so potent that even Edo Itachi used it to break free from Kabuto's control, proving that not even death could stop its influence. Danzo Shimura. Power at any cost. That's Danzo Shimura's entire legacy, and his ultimate technique, Izanagi, is the perfect embodiment of that ruthless philosophy. A jutsu so forbidden, it literally rewrites reality. In exchange for a part of your soul, Izanagi allows the user to erase death itself, turning fatal injuries into illusions and granting a second chance. But there's a catch. For every use, the Sharingan that casts it goes blind forever. In Danzo's case, he turned his body into a graveyard of stolen Uchiha eyes, giving him multiple uses of Izanagi in rapid succession. That alone makes him one of the most terrifying figures in the series. In his fight with Sasuke, Danzo activates Izanagi over and over, tanking attacks that should have ended him. Pierced through the heart? Illusion. Neck snapped? Illusion. Time and again, Danzo dies, and time and again, he refuses to stay dead. It's not just a jutsu, it's his ideology. Sacrifice others, rewrite reality, stay in control. But it comes with high stakes, limited uses, immense chakra cost, and a countdown clock that demands careful calculation. And once it ends, the user's real death comes swiftly. Rasa. When people talk about magnet release, Gaara's sand usually takes the spotlight. But long before him, there was Rasa, the fourth Kazekage, and his signature weapon wasn't sand, it was gold. Rasa's magnet release. Gold dust is a terrifying technique that combines chakra manipulation with metallic density. Unlike Gaara's sand, gold dust is heavier, more conductive, and can smother enemies under sheer weight. Rasa controlled the battlefield itself. With a flick of his fingers, Rasa could raise gold tsunamis, create quicksand traps, or bury entire squads under mountains of gleaming death. In the Third Great Ninja War, his gold dust changed the tide of battles. The sheer volume he could manipulate was enough to halt an entire army. But there's a strategic brilliance to this technique. Rasa created gold dust specifically to counter Gaara's sand, fearing his son's uncontrollable power. Gold is denser than sand, meaning it naturally overpowers it. It was a checkmate built into his own bloodline. Gold dust isn't about elegance, it's about domination. The ability to create terrain, trap enemies, and overwhelm with weight. It's a symbol of Rasa's rule, control through overwhelming force. Konan. Konan was a founding member of the Akatsuki. She was an angel of death, with wings made not of chakra or feathers, but paper. And her ultimate technique? The breathtaking, terrifying dance of the Shikigami. Through intense chakra control, Konan transforms her entire body into countless sheets of paper, which she can manipulate at will. These aren't ordinary sheets. They cut, bind, shield, and swarm. With just a motion, she can unleash paper storms, slice through stone, or vanish into the wind. But what makes Paper Release truly horrifying is its scalability. During her legendary battle with Obito, Konan turns an entire lake into a trap. 600 billion explosive tags layered over a paper sea, detonating for 10 straight minutes. That was war poetry, and Obito barely survived. Only by phasing into another dimension. Paper Release isn't brute strength. It's precise, overwhelming elegance. Konan can scout, attack, defend, and even travel by becoming a swarm. She slips through cracks, disguises herself, and reforms in midair like a spirit of vengeance. It's ninjutsu turned into origami. Tactically, Paper Release is a ninja's dream, lightweight, silent, fast, and impossible to predict. Its only major weakness is water. Once soaked, the paper loses form. But in dry terrain, Konan becomes nearly untouchable. Mew. When it comes to pure destruction, few techniques in Naruto can rival the sheer obliteration of Mu's dust release. A Keke Toda so advanced, it is not only destroy enemies, it erases them at a molecular level. As the second Tsuchikage, Mu was a master of stealth and strategy. He also was a living weapon. Dust Release combines earth, wind, and fire chakra to form a glowing geometric construct that expands outward, vaporizing everything inside its radius. We're not talking about breaking bones or burning skin. We're talking about total disintegration. Trees, rock, bodies, gone. In his reincarnated battle against Naruto and Killer Bee, Mu becomes a phantom of destruction. He uses his signature invisibility jutsu to become undetectable, launches Dust Release from afar, and nearly wipes out both Jinchuriki before being interrupted. It's a horror show. Imagine an unseen death laser targeting you from nowhere. Strategically, Dust Release is the ultimate checkmate move. It doesn't care how much defense you've got. Armor, regeneration, chakra cloaks, none of it matters. Once you're caught in the blast, there's no surviving it. But Mu's real terror lies in his stoic control. Unlike madmen who revel in power, Mu delivers death with cold efficiency. No rage, no glory, just silent precision. Dust Release isn't flashy, it's clinical, surgical, annihilating. And Mu is its perfect wielder, a ghost from the shadows who deletes anything in his way. Sujetsu Hozuki. If water had a personality, it'd be Suigetsu Hozuki. Fluid, sarcastic, unpredictable, and almost impossible to pin down. His iconic ability, the hydrification technique, makes him a living liquid, a man who can dodge swords, bullets, and even fists by simply turning into water. The moment Sugetsu activates this jutsu, his entire body liquefies, giving him unmatched evasion. Slashes pass through him, punches sink in, projectiles splash harmlessly. It's the ultimate troll move. He literally slips through every attack. One of Suigetsu's most unforgettable showcases was during his encounter with Kisame Hoshigaki. Wielding Zabuza's giant blade, Suigetsu squared off against another sword monster. When Kisame came at him full force, Suigetsu morphed, bent, and reformed, using his liquid state to outmaneuver one of the most dangerous men in the Akatsuki. Offensively, Suigetsu can expand his limbs, shape weapons, or drown opponents by engulfing them. He becomes the battlefield, always shifting, always adapting. And paired with his oversized blade and cocky attitude, he turns every fight into a show. Of course, there's a downside. He's weak to dehydration. Suigetsu needs constant hydration or risks becoming a soggy puddle of failure. But when he's at full power, he's nearly untouchable. Jugo. Some powers are blessings, others are curses. For Jugo, his sage transformation is both. A primal force of nature born from an uncontrollable connection to the world's wildest energy, natural chakra. Jugo's ability to absorb nature energy isn't trained like Naruto's sage mode. He was born with it. His body constantly pulls in ambient chakra, triggering monstrous transformations that supercharge his strength, speed, and durability. His limbs morph into weapons. His skin hardens into armor. He becomes a beast. In battle, Jugo is pure chaos. One moment he's calm, The next, he's a roaring juggernaut smashing through walls, but his most defining moment is during the 5-cage summit arc. Supporting Sasuke, Jugo taps into his sage transformation to hold off multiple enemies, all while wrestling with his own sanity. His inner conflict is raw: protect his friends or give in to the urge to destroy. That's what makes Jugo's technique so terrifying. It's a battle of instinct versus will. Every transformation is a gamble. How much control can he maintain before he loses himself? Compared to traditional sage modes, Jugo's transformation lacks finesse, but makes up for it in sheer brutality. He doesn't use jutsu, he is the jutsu, a living engine of destruction fueled by the earth itself. Karen Uzumaki. At first glance, Karen Uzumaki doesn't look like a combat powerhouse, but under that red hair and sharp tongue lies one of the most tactically vital kunoichi in Naruto. Her signature technique, a combination of chakra sensing and a brutal yet life-saving move, the healing bite. As a sensor-type ninja, Karen possesses some of the most advanced chakra detection skills in the series. She can pinpoint enemies from miles away, distinguish chakra signatures instantly, and detect lies through chakra fluctuations. In the middle of battle, she's the ultimate radar, feeding real-time data to her team and predicting threats before they happen. But what really sets Karen apart is her Uzumaki vitality. Her body holds immense chakra reserves and regenerative ability. And when an ally is mortally wounded, Karen offers them her arm. One bite. Yes, an actual bite. And her chakra floods into their body, healing wounds almost instantly. It's messy, painful, and utterly brilliant. Her chakra sensing makes her a living surveillance system. Her healing makes her a one-person emergency room. And her unwavering loyalty to Sasuke, despite everything, adds an emotional layer to her every action. Utakata. When you think of deadly jutsu, you don't immediately picture bubbles. But Utakata, the reclusive six-tails Jinchuriki, turns something whimsical into a weapon of elegance and destruction with his iconic bubble release. Utakata's jutsu allows him to blow chakra-infused bubbles that can explode, trap, confuse, or even deflect enemy attacks. But these aren't your playground bubbles. Each one is a precision-crafted bomb, floating silently toward opponents before bursting with controlled force. It's like watching deadly art in motion. In his most memorable confrontation during the filler arc against the Hidden Mist, and in a symbolic clash with Pain's forces, Utakata uses his bubbles not just as offense, but as a strategic toolkit. He floods the battlefield with floating traps, obscures enemy vision, and launches surprise strikes. It's a fight of finesse, where every move is measured, and every bubble hides a deadly surprise. What makes Utakata's bubble release so unique isn't about its versatility, it's the contrast. His serene expression, the quiet beauty of the technique, and the sudden, explosive violence it unleashes create a visual and emotional paradox. Hanzo. There's a reason Hanzo was once known as Hanzo of the Salamander, a name that made even the Sannin tremble. His signature technique revolves around a horrifying synergy between poison mastery and deadly kenjutsu, a combo that turns any battlefield into a death trap. Hanzo carries within him the venom of a giant black salamander, stored in a specialized breathing apparatus. One inhalation of the airborne poison he releases can paralyze, weaken, or outright kill shinobi on contact. This isn't subtle poisoning, it's biological warfare. The battlefield turns toxic, and his enemies slowly suffocate while he watches, untouched. In his legendary duel with Mafoon, Hanzo unleashes his poisonous aura to gain the upper hand, believing the samurai wouldn't last. But that fight becomes symbolic, not just of two warriors clashing, but of ideals colliding. Hanzo's reliance on fear and toxins is met with Mifune's clarity and resolve. And when Hanzo falters, we see a man crushed by the weight of his own legacy. Pakura. Kill. Alright, let's talk about one of the most underrated yet terrifying jutsu in Naruto. Scorch Style. Super Steam Kill. Shakutan. Kajosatsu. This Kekkei Genkai is a deadly mix of fire and wind chakra, and the only person we've seen using it is Pakura from the Sand Village. Now, the way this jutsu works is straight up horrifying. Pakura generates superheated orange spheres of steam that float around her or can be launched at her enemies, but the insane part is that these things don't burn you like regular fire jutsu. Nope, they suck every single drop of water out of your body in seconds. During the Fourth Great Ninja War, Edo Tensei Pakura used this technique to wipe out so many ninjas of allied shinobi forces, leaving them nothing but dried up husks in an instant. Overpowered? Absolutely. Unlike most jutsu that rely on overpowering the enemy's chakra, Super Steam Kill ignores all of that. It doesn't care how much chakra you have, it just dehydrates you to death. That's next level broken. Now, Amaterasu can be sealed or extinguished, but this goes straight for your biological survival limit. Even Jinchuriki, like Naruto or Killer Bee, with all their insane chakra reserves, still need water to live. That means they're not immune to this technique. Now imagine if this jutsu was refined and upgraded. Instead of an instant kill, what if the user could control the dehydration rate? They could weaken enemies over time, making them easier to capture or interrogate. And if someone with monstrous chakra reserves mastered it, they could scale it up to affect an entire battlefield, draining an entire army in a matter of seconds. When it comes to real-world combat, Super Steam Kill is a straight-up instant kill that doesn't give the enemy any chance to fight back. Now, here's the unfortunate part. This jutsu never got the credit it deserves. Pakura's limited screen time and her position as a secondary character left this technique flying under the radar. But if a main character had it, it would be one of the most feared techniques in the Naruto world. I'm talking about right up there with Rasengan, Chidori, or even Amaterasu. This shows that Kishimoto created a rich, complex world of jutsu filled with powerful techniques. But not all of them were fully explored in the main story. Super Steam Kill is a perfect example of that. So, it's not the flashiest jutsu that wins the battle, but the most lethal one. That's where the true terror lies. Kimaru. Among Orochimaru's most loyal subordinates, Kimaru Kaguya stood as a warrior of unparalleled resilience. His devotion was absolute, his will unshakable, and his strength terrifying. Yet what made him truly fearsome was not only his combat skill, but the deadly fusion of his Shikotsu Myaku, dead bone pulse, and the curse mark. This combination turned his entire body into a living weapon, capable of withstanding and executing attacks beyond human limits. When Kimaru activated Curse Mark Stage 2, his transformation was both grotesque and awe-inspiring. His once pale skin darkened to a sickly hue, his body sprouted jagged bone protrusions, and a long, whip-like tail extended from his spine. In this form, his control over his bones became even more refined, allowing him to manipulate them with greater speed, density, and lethality. Kimaru's power was a deadly combination of technique, adaptability, and unshakable discipline. One of his most terrifying abilities was his bone armor, a natural defense that made him nearly indestructible. He could grow an additional layer of dense bone beneath his skin, rendering most physical attacks useless. Even weapons that could pierce human flesh shattered against his reinforced skeletal structure. This natural armor, when combined with his agility and combat instinct, made him one of the most durable shinobi to ever walk the battlefield. Kimaru's offensive capabilities were equally fearsome. He could extend his bones as weapons, forming sword-like structures from his arms, spears from his ribcage, and even a deadly whip from his spine. This level of bone manipulation gave him an unpredictable fighting style. One moment, he was slicing through enemies at close range, and the next, he was striking from a distance with razor-sharp bone projectiles. His attacks were not only fast, but also impossible to anticipate, as he could regenerate and reshape his bones mid-combat to counter any opponent's strategy. However, his ultimate technique, Forest of Bones, was the pinnacle of his deadly abilities. In Curse Mark. Stage 2, Kimaru could unleash an entire battlefield of massive bone spikes, erupting from the ground to impale anything in their path. This technique was both an offensive and defensive maneuver, turning the entire terrain into his weapon while leaving his enemies with nowhere to escape. Only the fastest and most skilled fighters had any chance of avoiding its lethal reach. However, this ability required an immense amount of chakra, making it a trump card that could only be used in the most desperate situations. Yet, despite his overwhelming strength, Kimaru's greatest weakness was not his combat ability. but his fragile body. His terminal illness, a cruel twist of fate, robbed him of the opportunity to fully realize his potential. Even in his final battle against Rock Lee and Gaara, his willpower allowed him to keep fighting long after his body should have collapsed. His final attack was only stopped because his disease claimed his life before his enemy could. Kimaru was a symbol of unwavering loyalty, discipline, and wasted potential. Had he been born without his illness, he could have become one of the most unstoppable forces in the shinobi world. Even in death, his legacy remained as one of the most formidable users of the curse mark, and a reminder of what happens when great power is left unfulfilled. Mafoon. In a world ruled by chakra and jutsu, Mafoon stood tall as a master of pure swordsmanship. As the leader of the samurai from the Land of Iron, he wasn't an outsider. He was a reminder that discipline and honor can rival even the strongest ninja. Mifune's combat style is based on Iaido, the lightning-fast technique of drawing and slashing in a single, seamless motion. He eliminates his targets before they can even weave a hand sign. His signature move, Flash, is so fast and precise that it completely shuts down ninjutsu, forcing even top-tier shinobi into close combat. Armed with a traditional katana, Mafune doesn't rely on chakra tricks or flashy transformations. His strength lies in timing, precision, and mastery. He's the ultimate counter to those who underestimate physical combat. He reached peak performance during his battle with Hanzo of the Salamander, a legendary ninja with poison, summons, and a fearsome reputation. Mifune defeated him without using a single jutsu, purely through conviction and sword technique, a feat that speaks volumes about his level of mastery. Mifune is the embodiment of honor. Calm, righteous, and unwavering, he upholds the samurai code even when surrounded by deception. As a key voice during the Fourth Great Ninja War, he played a vital role in unifying the Allied forces and proving that even non-ninja